Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks for joining us on a Monday night. My special guest tonight was inducted into the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame in 2003, along with Chris Christopherson and the great Lefty Frizzell. He has won all kinds of great awards, including the 2019 BMI 2 Million Air Award for 2 million spins of Whiskey River. He is a Texas country music legend, and they call him the Country Caruso. It's an honor to have him on the show tonight. Say hello to Johnny Bush. Johnny, how are you tonight?
Scott, I'm doing fine. How you doing up there where it's cool?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. We'll send some of that down your way, cool you down a bit.
I wish you would, and hurry up.
Well, Johnny, we were talking before we went on the air that you did some radio back in the early days with Willie Nelson. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
There was a radio station south of San Antonio in Pleasanton, Texas called KBOP. And Willie came down. That's how I met him. It's about 1954. And we were playing a Southside joint in San Antonio, and we got together, been together ever since. But he went to Baylor University, and he said he studied radio, but I think what he really studied was dominoes in the rec room. And he went and auditioned for this gig, and I'd go down to see him. And he would open up the station, do a show, do the news, and when he was off, he would sell radio time. So I'd go down there and visit with him. So I got onto the weather end of it. So what I would do, I just go outside and look around and go back in and report what I saw. I couldn't miss. That was my weather. I didn't forecast what was going on next week or anything. I just said what I saw at that moment.
So you started out playing a lot of the honky tonks down there in Texas, and you're from Texas, right, originally?
You're right. I was born in Houston, and as soon as I learned to read, I got out of there. No, I moved out and come to San Antonio and been here. I've been here ever since. That's not true because from 63 to 67, I lived in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
When I was working with Ray Price, Cherokee Cowboys.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that too. What was it like working with Ray Price?
It was the greatest thing to work with a band like that and working with one of my heroes. Ray had always been my favorite singer since he come out. And I heard something in his voice that I didn't hear in what they were playing at that day and time, like Ernest Tubb and which is a hero of mine too, but Hank Williams and I heard something in his voice that was different, and I liked it. A little falsetto he had, and Hank Williams got him started, and that's ever since that day, he'd always been a hero. And first time I met him was at the Jimmy Rogers Memorial in 64, and it's Meridian, Mississippi, the Jimmy Rogers Day Memorial Celebration. Mm-hmm. And I heard him say, "I'll be there live," and it just was it. And before that, when Lefty Frizzell come out, when I was 13, 14 years old, he just destroyed me. They were so different, and actually, I refer to him as our Elvis.
Yeah.
He had the same impact, the same charisma. That was way before Elvis, but he had the fancy uniforms and guitar and driving black Cadillacs, and I just idolized him, And then at that time, Ray came along, and somehow or another, Lefty faded out. And when I read his book, I found out why he faded out. He just quit recording and running all over the country doing jobs as a single. And he let his band go, and he just kind of faded out, but he never faded out in my mind and my memory. Ray came along, and working for him, you asked me the question of what it was like working for him. Every day was a pleasure, and we couldn't wait for Ray to come on the bandstand. You know, a lot of bands, excuse me, they get to, you know, with a swinging band like we had, a lot of bands with different artists would say, oh, it's time to bring the boss up, you know, but we couldn't wait because he had that charisma and that excitement that kind of like Bob Will said, and we just couldn't wait for him to get up there. Every job was a pleasure, and he was good to work for, and I just couldn't say enough better things about him. I will tell you a funny story. Back when he was very, very sick, he had pancreatic cancer, and we all knew at any time he was going to go. So I called the hospitals, let him go home. And I called him, and I didn't know whether I'd get to speak to him or not. And his wife answered the phone. I said, this is Johnny Bush. I just wanted to give my feelings to Ray Price. And she said, well, he's right here. And he got on the phone, and he never sounded sick. He had that beautiful voice, that resonance in his voice. And I said, Ray, I just wanted to tell you that we miss you out here, man. And we all love you and wish you the best. And you were like an uncle to me. And he said, I ain't no damn kin to you, and don't you be telling people that. So he was funny to the end, you know.
That's great. You and he recorded a fabulous duet just not too long, I think, before he passed away. Ain't Your Memory Got No Pride at All. Man, I love that song.
Yeah, you know, I heard that song when I was touring in Germany. And the guy I was working for gave me a tape to listen to at night, and I heard that song. But it was by Ray Charles, and Buddy Emmons was playing steel.
Oh, man.
And the song just knocked me out, and I found out who wrote it. Red Lane wrote it.
Yeah.
So I got back home. I was up there recording, and I went by Sony, which used to be Columbia Records, Sony now. And I said, I need that. I need the original, the dub, you know, of that Ain't You Ever Got No Pride at All. Because I was trying to get those Ray Charles inflections out of my brain. I didn't want to let that get in my way of putting my style in there, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
If you know what I'm saying, and he, 7 years later, he sent it to me. And Ray liked the song, and we put it on a CD.
That's great.
And I was disappointed that around Texas it never got any play, but I'm proud that you're playing it. You recognized it.
Absolutely. We're going to play it tonight, too, for our listeners. You bet. Johnny, when you were working with Ray, were you there at the same time that Roger Miller was in the band?
No, I was there way after that, and Willie was way after that. It was Roger Miller, and he's had a lot of people went through that Cherokee Cowboy band, like Roger Miller, Johnny Paycheck, whose real name is Donnie Lytle. Mm-hmm. And then he changed it to Donnie Young, and then the Johnny Paycheck. I don't know how he got that one. But and then, let's see, Roger Miller, Johnny Paycheck, Darryl McCall, and myself. So we all come through that band.
Man, now you were playing drums, right?
I was the drummer. I never got to sing with him, but one night when we was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and had a hit called The Other Woman, and I played drums on it.
Oh, wow.
Studio. And we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma on New Year's Eve, and I don't remember the year now, but the guitar player who sang harmony with Ray was not there. so they put a microphone back there with me, and I sang harmony. The only time I ever sang with him.
I'll be darned. Wow. Well, that's great. I love
And
that
it
song.
was a thrill, and of course, like I said, every day with him was a joy. Well, I got another funny Ray Price story. We had played in San Angelo, Texas, a river stage, and the Bandoleros, my band, were opening for him. And when I got there, I don't go around knocking on bus doors. I figure if people want to see me, they'll send for me or whatever. So I didn't see him before the show, but when I was coming off the stage, after doing my show that I opened for him, he come out of the shadows from somewhere, and he poked me on the chest, and he said, "Lower your keys and slow your tempos down," and walked off. Didn't say hello, anything. So I was playing golf with Willie one day, and I said, "Willie, he thinks we still work for him." and Willie said, "Well, hell, we do."
I love it.
And I thought that was pretty good, you know.
We're going to take a little break and play that great duet with Johnny Bush and Ray Price. Ain't Your Memory Got No Pride at All. And we're going to come back and talk to Johnny some more about his fabulous career. Stay with us as My Kind of Country continues.
I woke up with her in my arms this morning, and God knows I love her overall. As she whispered she loved me, your memory appeared. Ain't your memory got no pride at all?
Tonight, as I lay touching her sweet body, and that good familiar feeling I recall, as I close my eyes to kiss her, your memory appears. Ain't your memory got no pride at all?
You were here, we loved, now you're gone. Why can't you let bygones be bygones and stay gone?
You always find the wrong time to come around to call. Ain't your memory got no pride at all?
You were here, we loved, now you're gone. Why can't you let bygones be bygones and stay gone?
You always find the wrong time to come around to call. Ain't your memory got no pride at all? Ain't your memory got no pride at all?
Let's talk about Willie Nelson for a minute. I know that you played in his band as well, and he was responsible for your first album, right?
Yeah, what happened was, at back was 54, Willie was playing guitar for me in a little place around Texas that I call myself Johnny Bush and the Hillbilly Playboys, with exclusive management Willie Nelson, because he was on the air then. And that went nowhere. I think we worked one job, but I got a poster still that has it on there. And later on, after we got separated 2 or 3 times, and one day I heard this song on the radio called Hello Walls by Fair and Young, and we were all just knocked out over it, because it was a different country song that you was hearing at that time.
Yeah.
So indirectly from somebody I heard who wrote that, it was Willie. Willie moved to Nashville. And then I heard he was with playing bass in front of the band for Ray Price. So when they come through San Antonio, I went to see him. And he told me what he's doing. We could kind of catch it up, you know.
Yeah.
So about later on that same, well, it did 63, I got a call from Charlie Walker saying Ray's coming through Texas. He needs a drummer. And I said, well, where do I start? So I went to work for Ray and moved to Nashville, and I didn't care for that much, but working for him made up for the discomforts of living in Nashville at that time, because it was so far removed from Texas, and it was just so different. And it wasn't that it was that bad for people that lived there, but it was bad for me, or uncomfortable for me, that because it was so different, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I stayed there last like 67. Willie produced my first record, and thank God it caught on. At that time, Pamper Music Company that Ray owned had a utility label, they called New Star. So we put this song out on New Star, and the thing started getting a lot of airplay. Because at that time, you had the station, all-night stations out of New Orleans, Des Moines, Iowa, Fort Worth, Texas, and Nashville. So at night after midnight, you could search the dial and catch all these clear channel stations.
Right.
And I was getting more airplay at that time than he was. And he told me, he said, if you'll stay with me 1 year, and I did. And that was our plan to begin with. Because I fast forward too long. Willie already was living in Nashville also, and he and Wade Ray were doing singles through Texas. And I went by his house one day, and he said, "What are you doing?" Well, why'd you leave Ray Price? I said, "Well, I wanted to get started on my own. I wanted to record my songs, and I wanted to do what you did." And he said, "Well, if you'll come to work for me," and on that first 10 days through Texas, he said, those Texas drummers are killing me, because if you heard Willie sing, he doesn't sing out of meter, but he backphrases to where if you listen to him too close and you're trying to keep a rhythm going, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You got to know his style.
He's not out of meter, but boy, he gets awful close.
Yeah, he catches up there at the end of the bar, and so that worked out pretty well. And he said, "If you'll stay with me a year, I'll produce a record on you." And he was good at his word. And we went to the studio. He said, "You pick your musicians, and you pick the material, and I'll turn the red light on." And I thought, well, that's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the title of the album, "The Sound of a Heartache."
Yeah, and I talked to Buddy Emmons about that, who's the nation's foremost steel guitar player then and now and always. there's the E9, which you get all the pretty pedal work. There's a C6 where they play up-tempo jazz type. And he said, the sound of a heartache, he said, that is definitely the sound of the E9 steel guitar tuning.
Yeah.
And coming from him, that was,
High praise.
like I said, it hit, and then we went with Stop Records, and after that we were lucky enough to get everything I put out was a hit. And it got started on my own, and I owe a lot to Willie, and I will say, without fear of contradiction, that if it hadn't been for Willie, it's a funny thing about Nashville. You can beat those doors down all you want to, and they don't mind saying no, or we'll call you. But when somebody else wants you, then everybody wants you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
That's where those producers are, and when they heard Sound of a Heartache, then all these record companies started shooting offers at me. And I stayed with Stop Records till my contract was up. And I had an offer from RCA, which at that time was the biggest company in the world. And my first rattle out of the box was Whiskey River. And as you mentioned a while ago, I just got an award from BMI for 2 million spins. And Willie uses it as his theme song. Even today, he opens and closes with it. I had no idea at the time it would be the longevity of a song would last that long.
Really?
But I owe a lot that to him also, because not only is it he opens and closes his shows with it. When he recorded it, they started playing his records, and I wrote it, so I get the BMI. So he had a lot to do with that Millionaire Award, and I did, the 2 Millionaire Award.
He wrote some other great songs that I really like, and one of those is "Conscience, Turn Your Back." That is a great song.
Yeah, thank you. None of them ever hit the peak like Whiskey River. But like Willie said one time, he said, every song I ever write, I try to compare it with Gene and Funny How Slaps and Time Slips Away, and he said, I ain't got there yet. So I kind of gauged mine by the same way, but the song that you mentioned come way before Whiskey River, but that was one of the songs I was trying to get started.
I love that song, and "Toy Telephone" is another one.
Larry Kingston was a prolific writer in Nashville at the time, and everything he wrote was I loved. Like Jim, Jack, and Rose, and songs like that he had written, and I thought he was. Everything he ever wrote was great.
Great music, absolutely. Well, you had some fantastic hits during that time, of course. "Undo the Right," which I love that song.
Willie and Hank Cochran wrote that.
Yeah.
And when he told me to get songs together and get your musicians together and go in the studio, well, that was one of the songs that I'd taken in there with me. And here was my method. I thought if DJs received a copy of a record that just said Johnny Bush Unknown on there, you get my drift?
Yeah.
That they may play it, they may not. But if it's written by Willie Nelson and Hank Cochran, they'll say, we better listen to that. So I think it worked,
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, you have the definitive version of that. That's the first time I ever heard the song is when you did it, and that's my favorite to this day.
I appreciate that. I do it every show, and I have since it was recorded.
And other songs, "You Gave Me a Mountain," that was really just a showcase of your vocals.
Yeah, that Marty Robbins wrote that.
Yeah.
I went up to WSM one night, and he was there playing piano and singing with Ralph Embry. And Ralph Emery said, what are you doing in town, John? I said, well, I'm here to record. And, Ralph would always put you on the spot. And he said, what are you going to record? I said, one of his songs. I pointed at Marty. And I said, I hadn't heard it yet. Frankie Lane had the first hit on that, the pop version.
Oh.
And the record company gave me his record to learn. And I told Marty, I said, and I hadn't heard it yet. And he said, well, I'll sing it for you. So on 50,000 Clear Channel out of WSM, he hit the piano, sang You Gave Me a Mountain, and boy, it just knocked me for a loop. But Marty had always been a great singer, you know, and I thought, man, after I heard him sing it, I don't know if I want to touch this or not. But it worked out. I think he got the #2 spot on Billboard. And I don't have to put much faith in Billboard, because I'll tell you why. Those numbers can be bought. It's how big ads and how many ads you buy. Like, it comes down to this, and you know as well as I do, it's all political. It's all political, and these CMA awards are like that too. The record companies get together and said, I'll put my blog of vote in on your artist if next year you'll put your blog of vote. You know, it's just, excuse me, and that's the way it works. And I never bought into that. To be in the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame, you got to be a Texan. And you got to, and the voting comes from a panel that were Hall of Fame inductees, and they get to vote. So it's a Texas thing, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I voted after that. After I was in, I voted for George Jones and Johnny Rodriguez, and my vote counted. You know, excuse me. That's how that works.
One of the awards that you received for Whiskey River was the Library of Congress recognized it as one of the all-time top 20 country music standards, and I think that's a very worthy award as well.
It was. I was very proud of that, and I don't know when that came out, but I don't really want to use the word shocked, but I was pleasantly surprised, you know.
As well you should have been. Well, I want to ask you about another song that's one of my very favorites, and then I want to talk about some of your more current stuff.
Sure.
Green Snakes on the Ceiling. Oh, man, I'll tell you, the first time I ever heard that song, I was hooked, and it's been a favorite of mine ever since. Tell me the story behind Green Snakes on the Ceiling.
The first time I heard it, I wanted to puke. And I'll tell you why. My producer at that time at RCA brought the song into the session, and he played it for me, and I said, it was such a departure from what I had been doing, you know, that I thought it was a joke. And he said, if you will record that, I promise you'll have a hit. So when your producer tells you that, you're almost obligated to record it, right? Well, at the time, it did not hit, but over the years, and I suppose it because it was on the album, that people bought the album and they liked that song so well they started requesting it at my live shows. So I began to sing it, and but all these years it become in Texas, it became a kind of a standard, especially for me. As strong as Whiskey River, You Give Me a Mountain. So now I open my shows with it, and when I do special events where families can come, excuse me, they bring their children. And I've had 4 and 5 years old, 5, 6 years old, 7-year-old kids come up and say, "Can you play Green Snakes?" And I'm thinking, what is it about a man with the DTs, with delusional tremors that sees walking walls, and that's fascinating to a child? Then I figured it out. It has something to do with green snakes. That's the only thing they hear. Snakes.
Yeah. Well, it was a catchy song. I remember the first time I heard it, and at the time you recorded it, I believe in '73, it was so fresh. And when you play that record today, I mean, it sounds like it could have been recorded today. It just kind of transcends time, and I think it is just one of the most stellar country music records that I've ever heard, and it's just an amazing song.
I'll have to admit, my producer was right. It was just 20 or 30 years coming.
Yeah. Well, JohnnyBush.com is the website. HeartOfTexasRecords.com has a whole bunch of Johnny's great records. I'm going to take a little break here and play some of Johnny's big hits for you that we just talked about. And then we're going to come back, and I want to talk to Johnny about some of his more recent recordings. And stay with us as we continue with My Kind of Country and talking to Johnny Bush.
The darkness hide me while I'm slipping out again to see the one that I'm not supposed to know. I've promised you so many times, each time would be the last, but I love her too much to let her go. So tonight, while we're alone to share a love that we must hide, oh conscience, please turn your back just one more time. I can't bring myself to tell her about me and you. I don't want to hurt her, and it would kill her if she knew. So until I find a way to end this double life of mine, oh conscience, please turn your back just one more time. I can't bring myself to tell her about me and you. I don't want to hurt her, and it would kill her if she knew. So until I find a way to end this double life of mine, oh conscience, please turn your back just one more time. If you can't say you love me, say you hate me, and that you regret each time you held me tight. If you can't be mine forever, then forsake me. If you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. It was right when you loved me only, but wrong when you held another tight. So before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right, it's too late to say your heart is filled with sorrow. You can't undo what's done. Why do you try? So before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. It's too late to say your heart is filled with sorrow. You can't undo what's done. Why Well, before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. I came home one evening to find that a nightmare had taken the place of my dreams. I stood there surrounded by a house full of nothing, and my life fell apart at the seams. For all that was left of 10 years of trying was there on the floor of my home. Just an old rag doll with one arm missing, and my little girl's toy telephone. I just don't know anymore, honey.
Ain't it pretty outside?
It's never pretty outside for me anymore. Sometimes at night, when I'm sitting here drinking and thinking of ending it all, I pick up the phone and I shake as I'm dialing, but she always answers my call. It's hard to remember how her voice really sounded. I've listened to this one so long. To me, there's a message from someone who loves me on this little toy telephone.
My mommy says we're going on a picnic. You want to go too?
I don't think I can go on this one.
I could come and see you.
I wish you could too, honey.
You know what? I love you.
Daddy loves you too, sweetheart. In the heat of the desert, my mother died giving me life, pride of the love of a father, blame for the loss of his wife. You know, Lord, I've been in a prison for something that I've never done. It's been one hill after another, but I've climbed them all one by one. But this time, Lord, you gave me a mountain, that I got tired of the hardships, tired of the grief and the strife, so tired of working for nothing, tired of being my wife. She took my one ray of sunshine. She took my pride and my joy. She took my reason for living. She took my small baby boy. But this time, Lord, you gave me a mountain, that I may never climb. And it isn't any longer. You gave me a mountain this time. Loneliness surrounds me where your arms used to be, sitting at the same old table where you used to sit with me. But I guess my heart's not strong enough to find someone new, 'cause like a madness that I can't control, every girl reminds me of you. And I can hear the sound of a heartache from the music that the jukebox plays so loud. Yes, I can hear the sound of a heartache above the noise of happy people in that crowd. Yes, I can hear the sound of a heartache from the music that the jukebox plays so loud. Yes, I can hear the sound of a heartache above the noise of happy people in that crowd.
All right, Johnny Bush here on My Kind of Country. Johnny, I want to thank you so much for giving me so much time today. I'm really enjoying visiting with you. You got some great stories.
Scott, it's been my pleasure. And as long as people are playing traditional country music like you do, I just want you to know that we appreciate it. And I don't know if it'll ever come back as strong as it did, but people still love it. It's still keeping me working. And when I'm working as many dates as I am, and wherever I am in Texas, I've never heard anybody request one of these songs to come out of Nashville. They never asked me to sing it. It's coming out of Nashville today is what I mean, because I don't know where they're coming from. And I think they want to hit the pop side, you know.
Yeah, and that's fine, but don't call it country music, because that ain't what it is.
Don't call it country. What did I call it? Rock and roll in a cowboy hat.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you've had some great albums in recent years. You did a fantastic album with Justin Trevino, another one of my favorites. And Justin also did a tribute album to you as well.
He did. I was proud of him doing that. Usually they wait after you're dead. I said, Justin, are you trying to tell me something? But I was proud of what he did. It's nice to hear a tribute while you're still alive. Good to hear it, you know.
Well, I had Justin on my show when that album came out, and we did a whole feature on it. And I don't think there's anybody who knows more about the history of country music than Justin Trevino. I always love talking to him.
I would sure give you that, and you're right. He does. And we talk once a week, and every now and then we'll play a gig together with the Heart of Country anniversary every year in March. Of course, it's been moved to next March because of this pandemic.
Yeah.
But we talked and conversed, and he's written songs for me. And
your album, The Absolute Johnny Bush, that came out in 2017, another fantastic project. And then you did an album that kind of went along with your autobiography called Cashmere Gardens Mud.
Yeah, we did that for our company out of Houston. And what we did, we tried to feature. When I was a kid, my Uncle Jerry Jericho was a local, I hate to say local, he had some hits. And I'd be cutting the grass or working over at his house, and then Floyd Tillman or Ted Daffin or somebody drive up the driveway. And as I look back, that was a great thing then, because I didn't know who they were. And at that time, in my 10 or 12-year-old kid, that didn't mean a lot to me. But over the years, it meant a lot later. So what we tried to do with Cashmere Garden Mud was feature songs that, like Ted Daffin and Floyd Tillman, and then the great Harry Schultz, songs of the day that were popular when I was growing up that identified with Houston, the Houston scene. Mm-hmm. Again,
Well, we are going to play some of those songs for our listeners tonight, and we play a lot of Johnny Bush music here on My Kind of Country, as well as all the other great stable of artists out of Texas. That's
Scott, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, it's my honor. Johnny, I wanted to ask you about the problems that you had with your voice that kind of sidelined your career for some time, and it took a while to figure out what was really going on.
Yeah, about 30 years.
My goodness.
The malady that I have is called, and it took years and years for them to figure it out, because at that time, my voice doctor, the ENT doctors, throat doctors, whatever you want to call them, didn't know what it was. But I went to a speech therapist. It was the first time I heard the word spasmodic dysphonia. Come to find out, over years, some different medical colleges and universities through the country figured out that it was a neurological disorder that comes from the brain. The part of the brain is the basal ganglia, and what that does, when you get the thought to speak or to sing, it sends a signal, excuse me, to your vocal cords to phonate. Well, that signal, like a wire, if you can picture an electric wire, is in short circuit. So involuntarily, your vocal cords just slam shut. And it happened one night, just bang, it was there. And it lasted for 30 years. And I went to psychiatrists, psychologists, different ENT man. David Houston sent me the guy in Shreveport, and I went through allergy clinics trying to figure out what it was. Nobody knew. And like I said, finally some colleges figured out what it was. And had they had told me at the time that this is a malady that we don't know what causes it, and we don't know the cure, I don't know what I would have done. But I thought at the time it came on so suddenly that any day it would go away as quickly as it came on.
Really?
Well, it didn't, and it never will. Now, what we're doing today, and it started in early 2000, a young doctor at the University Health Science Center in San Antonio was experimenting with vocal problems. They used Botox. So I go in and I get Botox injections about every 3 weeks. And it does not cure spasmodic dysphonia. But what it does, Botox is a poison. It's like botulism that paralyzes muscles. If you get bit by a cobra or a rattlesnake, your respiratory system shuts down. And Botox is like that. If you get botulism poisoning, you'll die if you eat something. Well, they've got it down where they give you minute injections into the false muscles that control the vocal cords. Just enough to where when they try to slam shut, there's enough paralytic agent to relax those muscles to where they don't slam shut.
Wow.
And that saved my career, because like every 3 weeks I go back for an injection. But I'm back singing with the high notes and the keys that I recorded those songs in.
I was going to say, man, you sound fantastic. I watched a video of your 85th birthday this year, and congratulations on that, by the way. And you sounded...
Did somebody film that?
Yeah, it's actually on your website, and I'll tell you what, man, you sounded fantastic, and I'm so happy that that's been working for you. And I know that you've become a spokesman for people with afflicted with vocal disorders.
Yeah, with spasmodic dysphonia, I am, and anybody in your listening audience that has any vocal problem, when people call me, I help them any way I can, they've come to my house before, and I did send them to the clinic. I've taken them over there. And that's what I do, because at the time this happened to me, only 1 in 35,000 have this malady. So, well, I'm a little growly this morning because I sleep late, because with my gig, I don't get to bed till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, I just slept late, and I'm kind of croaky now, but it has nothing to do with the spasmodic dysphonia.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Johnny, and you are a treasure to country music, and you've got so many fans all over the world, and I know they're going to be very, very happy to hear you on the show with me tonight. And it has been
Scott, I appreciate what you're doing for us, not me, with everybody with traditional country music. And I appreciate that it's an honor to be a part of your program today.
Well, it's been an honor having you on the show, and I want to thank your manager and your drummer, Ronnie, for getting us in touch and setting this up today. He's a nice man. I've had a nice conversation with him, too. I think he's cool.
I just couldn't do without him, my right arm, you know.
Well, be sure to give him my thanks. I really appreciate it. And
I surely will. I'll tell Kelly the same thing.
And I hope that when you have some, I'm sure you'll be doing some new recordings. Whenever you got some new music out there, I hope you'll share it with us, and I'd love to have you come back on the show anytime.
Okay, Scott. Well, appreciate you having me on your program today, and good luck to you.
Thank you for all your time, Johnny. I appreciate it. We're going to play some more of your great music for our listeners right now. And, folks, again, please go to johnnybush.com and also heartoftexasrecords.com. Our buddy Tracy Pitcox has got all the great country music there. Johnny Bush, thank you again for being on My Kind of Country.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The southern wind blows through Cashmere Gardens with the smell of Pasadena in the air. Nothing good ever grew in Cashmere Gardens, only bitter weeds and flowers of despair. A 3-room shotgun shack was home in Cashmere Gardens, with a house out back and a shallow water well. Everybody lived the same in Cashmere Gardens, like a chapter in a Steinbeck novel tells. In that unforgiving land north of the bayou, even cotton failed to grow in that mud. And it was that Cashmere Garden mud that stained my memory, and that memory still lingers in my blood. It was 1943 and the war was raging, and I remember being overcome by fear. It was the beginning of the age of atomic power, and the preacher told us all the end was near. In that broken promised land called Cashmere Gardens, it's where my mama's love for my daddy died. He never saw the signs of her leaving, or the hunger he could never satisfy. In that unforgiving land north of the bayou, even cotton failed to grow in that mud. And it was that Cashmere Garden mud that stained my memory, and that memory still lingers in my blood. And that memory still lingers in my blood.
To
can say is what a way to live. The paths my memories take just make my poor heart ache. I think of her, I guess I always will. All I can say is what a way to live. I'd rather lay me down tonight and never wake again than to face another day the shape my life is in. The jukebox playing loud, a face among the crowd, so much like her it makes my heart stand still. All I can say is what a way to live. I'd rather lay me down tonight and never wake again than to face another day the shape my life is in. The jukebox playing loud, a face among the crowd, so much like her it makes my heart stand still. All I can say is what a way to live. All I can say is what a way to live. These three close friends and I get together every night at the tavern at Broadway and First. Then we sit way in the back, me and Jim, Rose and Jack, where we silently work on my thirst. Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and sweet Gypsy Rose, they're always wherever I go. They're the only friends I've got, and I'm proud I've got to know Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and sweet Gypsy Rose. Real friends who understand, they don't resist my shaky hand. They sit and listen and I never must insist. Gypsy Rose watches my eyes, and if she thinks I'm about to cry, she caresses my lips with her kiss. Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and sweet Gypsy Rose, they're always wherever I go. They're the only friends I've got, and I'm proud I got to know Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and sweet Gypsy Rose. If you can't say you love me, say you hate me. you can't be mine forever, then forsake me. If you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. It was right when you loved me only, but wrong when you held another tight. So before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. It's too late to say your heart is filled with sorrow. You can't undo what's done. Why do you try? So before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. It's too late to say your heart is filled with sorrow. You can't undo what's done. Why do you try? So before you go away and leave me lonely, if you can't undo the wrong, undo the right. There ain't no chain strong enough to hold me. There ain't no breeze big enough to slow me. You never have seen a river that's too wide. There ain't no jail tight enough to lock me. There ain't no man big enough to stop me. I'll be there if you ever want me by your side. Well, love me if you're ever gonna love me. I never have seen a road too rough to ride. There ain't no jail tight enough to lock me. There ain't no man big enough to stop me. I'll be there if you ever want me by your side. Well, there ain't no ropes tight enough to bind me. Look for me, honey, and you'll find me any old time you're ready with your charms. I'll be there ready and awaiting. There won't be any hesitating. I'll be there if you ever want me by your side. Well, love me if you're ever gonna love me. I never have seen a road too rough to ride. Hey, I'll be there ready and awaiting. There won't be any hesitating.